I'm still waiting for Donnetta. She's running a bit late, so we can get in and answer any questions you guys have about title. So I'm definitely not the person to ask, but hopefully she will be here soon, and we can get into your title questions. But yeah, in the meantime, I figured just go live now. And if you guys have any questions about wholesaling or virtual wholesaling, sales, marketing, whatever, I'd be happy to answer those in the meantime. And yeah, so I figured we'll hang out, wait for her for a bit, and then wait for a few people to hop on. So let me know if you guys can hear me as well. I always forget to change my audio on here. But hopefully I have it right. Hopefully you guys are having a great week. I know this week is pretty good. So basically, if you guys were last week, you probably heard me talking about where you're at now is a direct reflection of your last 30 days of activity. And 30 days before this, we're getting ready for our event. So we weren't doing a whole bunch of prospecting. We weren't doing a whole bunch of activity related to getting wholesale deals. So my pipeline is pretty empty this month. So I've just been really getting after it. But it's been good. We got a couple of deals under contract this week, have a few more in the pipeline. Hopefully, still have a couple days left of the week. So hopefully we'll get some more today and tomorrow. And yeah, so I think it'd be a strong week. And that's always what I'm hoping for. So yeah, let me know how, if you guys had a good week, or if you guys have any questions about anything, if you need any help with deals or anything else, I'm an open book. So, but really, as far as what we're doing, we're still doing most of the same stuff. We're doing text and voicemail drops. As most people know, Twilio is starting to crack down a lot more with the text. So I'll do a video here probably for next week. Maybe this weekend, early next week, I'll bang a video out and just kind of go over some of the best practices with Twilio. Because I know a lot of people are having issues and really not through REI bot as much, but through a lot of other systems people are using. So yeah, you really just want to make sure that you are doing the best practices, but I'll go more in depth of that. If anyone has questions or wants to talk about that, happy to help too. But yeah, as long as you can look it up yourself. If you just look at the rules and regulations, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It is pain, it is tedious. I mean, it's definitely not as easy as it was before, but there definitely are still ways to make texting work really well. And I still think it's one of the best, if not the best, ways to cold traffic or to market to cold traffic. But just going to check. How far off she is. But yeah, that's it. I mean, hopefully, you guys are having a great week and can hopefully Dennis will be able to make it. We'll be able to get into some title stuff. She texted me a little bit ago, said she was on her way, just running late. So that's a great question. And yeah, it's perfectly fine if I covered something already. Happy to go over it again. But yeah, so as far as, so someone asked, I'm sure you covered this once before, but what do you use to send out a mass text? So I use my own system, REIBot CRM. You can check it out, get a free trial at reibotcrm.com, and I'll make sure to go ahead and I'll drop the link. But yeah, that's what I use. I think it's the cheapest platform you're going to find. I charge you what Twilio charges you. So it's like less than a cent. It's only $97 a month for unlimited users. And we don't upcharge for anything. You get like full access to really everything. But yeah, the big thing we do differently instead of mass texting, because when I first started, I would do a mass text. Like I send hey, you send a bunch of texts out to one time. And that's what I did when I first started, and it would work, but it wouldn't work great. So what we do now and how my system's set up and ready to go, it's all the things that I use, is that it'll do like in a drip. So it'll send it out over a week. But yeah, if you have any more questions, I'm happy to get that. And looks like Donnetta's here now.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, we're already live now, but yeah, I figured just get started. But yeah, not like your Shamrock here.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for having me here.
Awesome. Yes, I know. I figured we talk about title, and I have a few questions. And if anybody else has questions, make sure to drop them in the comments, because I'm sure you guys probably have questions I haven't thought of. But yeah, I feel like title, especially if you're new to wholesaling or investing, I feel like it's just kind of this mysterious thing. You just don't really know what happens. So can you just give us a brief overview of what title is and what the process is?
Sure. The whole point of title insurance is basically insuring the past from what could occur in the future.
Mhm.
So when we do our title searches, we are looking for any existing liens, a lot of problems that come up that I've noticed within the wholesaling investment is that y'all are maybe dealing with estates. And
Mhm.
so we're trying to get the affidavits of heirships and heirs satisfied so that way y'all can move forward to your B2C contract or your assignments.
Yep. Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, so what are some of the like the biggest mistakes or what are misconceptions people have about title, do you think, when if they're just starting out?
That it can happen really quick.
Mhm.
I mean, we can do a title search within 24, 48 hours, but that's when once we do the search, if we run into some of the estate issues or liens, such as abstracted judgments, your tax liens, child support liens, then of course you have to try to get payoffs and satisfy all that. And that can delay the process from you being able to close as quickly as some would like to close.
Right. That makes sense. But what's like a good like rule of thumb is like 2 weeks or at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Like
If you're dealing with a cash buyer or even your hard money lenders,
Mhm.
I would say 14 to 20 days is probably a good time frame.
Awesome. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
that's a good point. Now, what can somebody do to like help make your job easier, help make the title process easier? Is there anything they can do to be proactive to kind of get their ducks in a row or to,
Yeah, whenever you're talking to your initial sellers,
Mhm.
just kind of, you can always call us and ask us to do a quick title search of the property, where that way, when y'all are going out, y'all are making sure that you are talking to the owners of the property, or if it's not that it may be like a son or daughter, aunt, whatever, that kind of what to ask for at that point if probates are needed or if
Mhm.
they've ever done a probate, so that way you kind of know the process moving forward, as to whether or not you have to maybe seek out that real estate attorney to help get some of those estates satisfied. I mean, we can usually get it taken care of, but some are a little more difficult, and we do have to actually reach out to the real estate attorneys.
Right. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Now, as far as that, I know one question somebody did have, and again, if anyone else has questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. But I did ask in the group, and one question my friend Ashley had was that once you have a purchase agreement and you're looking to assign the contract,
Mhm.
how soon should you start the title process or get that over to title?
Oh, well, I mean, as soon as you have your contract in place,
Mhm.
we can start the title search, while y'all are possibly still looking for who you're going to assign it to, or
Mhm.
if you're going to turn it into a BC contract situation.
Yep.
As soon as you have your contract signed, then I would get the title process started, because we can constantly update on our side. So
Mhm.
that way you have as much time as you're needing, and but yeah, you have everything handled on that initial. Well, so when you, really, I guess the easiest way to say it is, that everything is ready to go. You have, any liens, you're fully informed as to what's there. So whenever you are trying to find that assigned person, you
Mhm.
can walk into them and go, "Hey, we're clear, we're ready to go."
Right. I think that makes it a lot easier for sure,
Mhm.
especially when you're talking to the
Mhm.
buyers.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if someone like so you guys are all over Texas, right? Do you guys do anywhere else too, or just Texas?
No, so Fidelity National Title is all over the United States and internationally as well.
Mhm.
So we can do anything in the state of Texas. And if it's outside of the state of Texas, we can always refer it to one of our branches in that particular state or city.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Mhm.
That's great to know. And I'm so sorry, completely forgot. Can you introduce yourself too for
Oh,
people
yeah,
who
I
don't
guess
know
I
you?
guess
Should
that would
start
help.
there.
My name is Donnetta Roberts, and I am with Fidelity National Title. I have been in the title industry for 29 years, so just a little while. One of the biggest things that I enjoy about my job is when I am able to, satisfy if we have a death situation and we're able to get that cleared so that way it can close and move as needed, and just kind of working with the home buyers to make them happy and keep y'all going.
Mhm. That's great. All right, it looks like we do have a question. So it looks like Bree asked, best practices when you don't find a buyer in time. What happens if you have to let the contract go? Does that hurt your relationship with the title company?
Never. No. No, because I mean, we opened the title because I mean, we're here to make y'all's life easier. That's really what we're there for, and to make sure that you can, move successfully to your next deal. And if we can help you get to that assignment process or to your, next contract, I mean, we're not hurt if something falls through.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we're there for y'all.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then, yeah, I think, that was the whole question. Awesome. Yeah, great question though. And yeah, if anyone else has questions, just you have to keep dropping them in there. But yeah, I guess the one question I had, so I know some states are different and everything. What is, if someone doesn't work with you, or if they're working with someone, or they don't know to work with you yet, what are like some things they should do if they're like vetting a title company, or questions they should ask?
So when I first started working with investors, it was a learning process. I will say that because there's working with your hard money lenders. There's specific things that they're looking for, and so I guess the biggest thing that I would ask is how long has the escrow officer been in the industry? Are they knowledgeable in satisfying the tough title issues that may come up, such as death or judgments or anything? And just are they familiar with hard money lending and how the whole process works? Because from a funding standpoint with the hard money lender, a lot of people, whenever you close, they expect their money the same day. Well, with the hard money lender, we know that we're going to have to send everything to them, and then maybe the next day is when it's going to fund. So your closer needs to be able to explain to your end buyer and your seller the whole process of how this transaction would work.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I know for me, it seems like a big issue I've had just with some people that we worked out of Texas or haven't worked with you in like other states, is just communication too, or actually being able to talk to the escrow officer. I know it's like most title companies work with the good, but yeah, some have just been like super hard, or seem like they didn't want to deal with like investors. And
yeah, no, I love working with investors. I mean, y'all keep me on my toes.
Yeah,
because sometimes the deals that y'all bring, like I said, they are the ones where maybe y'all are dealing with an estate issue, and so it helps us stay on top of the whole probate process, the laws, because the laws sometimes can change as to when who's going to be vested in title based on heirship, and so it keeps us sharp too.
yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So yeah, I'm trying to think. What other questions? Yes, if anyone else has some, drop them in the comments. But yeah, so we went over the title process. So what are there? Because I know there's like different people at like the company or your company. What are the different like positions there, and like how does like the back end kind of work? So I know you guys have like escrow assistants, and then is there like a lawyer, like a closing person, or?
Yeah. So I am the escrow officer. My assistant, Kyra, she's been with me for a little over 2 years now. So we're a team. We're working together. I try to do most of my closings where I am the one explaining to the buyers and the sellers the documents and the process when we're sitting at the closing table. But we do have our underwriters that if we have hard questions that we need answered, that we can go to get things clarified for us and help us, maybe find a solution that we didn't necessarily think we had a solution for. And then, our whole plant, which is basically the title, that's all the records that we go back and look at to do our complete title search. So that way we see from Sovereignty how this property has progressed through the chains.
That makes sense. Awesome. And it looks like somebody asked, should you still use a title company even for a sub 2 or seller finance deal?
You should always use a title company.
Yeah.
So the only reason I would say not to use a title company is if you are the person that built the house, or the person that built the house, but then you're not guaranteed to know whether or not they had any IRS liens or child support liens or a credit card lien that follows their name, because it's not attached to the property, but it's going to stay with the name. So
Right.
you're not guaranteed to know whether or not that's there if you're not getting that title search done. So it's always best practice to use a title company.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
And you can, and if you do not want to go and get the full on title insurance, you can always just ask us to do a title search of the property where we are not insuring it, but we can provide you, a little bit of insurance that everything is satisfied. Sorry, my dog wants to see y'all.
No worries. What's your dog's name?
This is Taylor.
Taylor?
You can't really see her face, but
That's awesome. All right, Bird. And it looks like somebody else said, looks like JD said title companies were busy last summer. And when I went into title companies, they were super busy with sales and refinances. Since the market has cooled off, is it still busy?
Believe it or not, we are still busy. Yes, we were busy with a lot of the sales because interest rates were so low. With interest rates rising, it's not as busy as it was, but I'm still getting, anywhere from 2 to 3 contracts per day. So we're still staying busy.
No, that's great.
But we are never too busy to talk to somebody that has a question or has an issue that needs to try to get a solution.
Awesome. So general rule of thumb. So somebody else asked a general rule of thumb for how much should buyers set aside for title?
Now, if you're just talking about for closing cost, if the buyer's paying title insurance, it is just right under 1% of your sales price. So if it's a cash transaction, like our escrow fee is $475, and then you have your recording fee of $30. That's your closing cost if you're working on a cash transaction. Now, again, if your buyer's paying the title, depending on your sales price, that's going to, determine how much, extra you're going to have to bring in. But on a typical deal, I would say it's about 1%. So now keep in mind that if you're dealing with a hard money lender, you're going to have their lender fees.
Right.
So that's what you have to consider. But from a title standpoint, it is minimal.
Okay. So about 1%, you think is like, yeah. Okay.
And that's only if the buyer is actually paying for title insurance.
Right.
99% of the time, sellers pay for title insurance.
Oh, okay. The seller usually covers that. I did not know that. And now I heard you mention credit card liens can be on house. I never heard of that. What are the other types of liens that can be placed on a property?
Well, IRS liens and your property tax liens, those are liens that will never go away from a title. And they will, and it's not that they again are attached to a property, they are attached to a person's name. But so they're going to follow that property. You can't have credit card liens. So like if you have a Capital One credit card that you didn't pay on, they can go and place a lien against your property. Same with like a car. If you had a car repossessed, they can place a lien on your property because it's through your name.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else kind of liens? There's child support liens. Something that we've been running into quite a bit, especially since the whole solar panels have started in the world. A lot of people don't realize that when you get like you're doing the financing of your solar panels, that they're doing what they call a mechanics lien contract. And so that is therefore going against your property at that point as well. And those do show up where you may think that you're just transferring that over to your buyer. No, that actually has to be paid off at closing. And so we'd have to get a payoff on that, just like you would have to do on a regular mortgage.
Really? Okay. So can they ever be transferred, or it's normally they always have to be paid off at closing for solar?
Nope, they always have to be paid off.
Really? Okay. That's good to know. I did not know.
Yeah. The only time that a lien would not have to be paid off is on a refinance situation. Because we know that the person probably lives in that house, and so you're just refinancing your mortgage, or so your lien would stay in place against your name. But anytime the property is being transferred from person to person, we would have to pay off those judgments. Another thing is, oh gosh, the financing for college, student loans. I was like, I couldn't think what it's called.
Yeah.
Student loans. That's been showing up quite a bit.
Really?
Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
So what is a lien? What's the definition of lien, or for people who don't know what a lien is?
A lien is a financial institution, be it a mortgage company, credit card company, attorney general, that they actually place where you've borrowed money and they use your house or your name as collateral, and that therefore affects any property, real property that you may own.
Okay, so it can be on the house or the person's name. Okay. Well, what's the big difference if it's on either one?
Well, your house is if it's on your house, it's using your legal description, which is your lot and block of the property. When it's against just your name, it's usually going with your social security number. And so an owner, a registered person that's on title, anytime they try to sell a property, that judgment would then show up with their name, and we have to prove whether or not it is our person. Because whenever we do our title search, we're actually searching for similar names as well, because someone may do something under, just say, D. Roberts. Well, D. Roberts could also be my husband, Dale Roberts.
Yeah.
So we're looking for similar names. So we do have to get a statement of identity that we, have the sellers fill out, that, gives us their social, their driver's license, their residence, because these liens are all done. They may have your driver's license, but they don't have your social, or it may have a property address, previous residence, or so we have to kind of be little detectives on whether or not these actually apply when it's just against your name. But the real property, mortgages and tax liens and IRS liens, those are going to show up against the property itself, because those do go with your legal descriptions.
Okay, that makes sense. So if it was on your name, if you own multiple properties, so no matter what one you sold, the lien would have to be taken care of. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, can a lien be placed on like an LLC or a company?
No.
Okay.
No, because it's an individual's name. It's now usually an LLC, you're going to have, they may show, let's say Kyle Logue LLC, but they're going to know that you are the principal owner of that particular LLC. So then it's going to go with your name.
Right.
So anytime we're doing our title search, we're looking for that principal of the LLC.
Okay, that makes sense. Awesome. And now, so what can you explain what a memorandum is, and if you should ever do a memorandum, and how those work? So like if you buy like a property, then like so you basically don't want like someone else to, if they sign a contract with someone else.
I see. Okay.
Like,
okay. So I've only run across that like 2 or 3 times, and basically if you get your initial contract in place, there's a form that can be filed within the county itself. And so it becomes of public knowledge, public record, that you have X amount of time to close on this property, and no one else can try to close on this prior to you closing. Now, if let's say you're not able to get the property closed, you can't find your assignment person, your B2C contract, then that memorandum would have to be released. And so there's been 2 times I've had to go back and ask for them to be released, so that way the next person that had everything in place could proceed with the closing. But you don't see those too often.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Awesome. But yeah, no, you guys had some great questions. If anyone has any other questions, just keep dropping them in there, and anything about title or anything else you guys want to know. But yeah, no, I think that's great. So when should somebody, basically, what does title handle, and like what would like an attorney like handle? Like when would you need an attorney to get involved, like in a deal?
Transfer. So the title company, we're going to do the title search and the actual closing of the transaction. The real estate attorney, they could prepare your contracts if you don't already have your contracts, your template set up for contracts,
Mhm.
or if you're using the truck forms,
Right.
they can help you prepare your contracts. But in the state of Texas, an attorney is the only one that is supposed to be preparing your notes, deeds of trust, and warranty deeds. So,
Mhm.
as a title company, we do have outside attorneys that we go to prepare those documents for us as needed. Now, lenders can prepare their notes, deeds of trust, warranty deeds, but they have to have them reviewed by a Texas attorney. So we're handling the disbursement of the file, getting funds to your sellers, to your assignment, your assignees, collecting the funds at closing from your buyers, and doing the full on closing itself.
Awesome.
Because I know some states do escrow and
Mhm.
title. So in Texas, it's a combined force.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. And the attorneys, if you were to close with a real estate attorney,
Mhm.
they would have to get a full on title commitment from the title company and
Really?
have
Okay.
us issue title insurance before they could close as well. So
Mhm.
might as well just come to the title company.
Yep. That makes sense. So if you can walk us through what's one of the hardest ones working with an investor that you've had to do, or what's like a hard one or a nightmare story you've had? I don't know if you can share that, but like what makes the deal hard, I guess, or any hard ones you've had to deal with.
Could I a good example would be one that I did with you.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah. So you had a particular property, and it was a higher end property, and
Mhm.
I guess your end buyer kind of disappeared on us a little bit. So
Yeah.
you went out there and you found your new investor. But on that one, we had two particular from the buy side of that one's what made it difficult. It wasn't
Mhm.
your seller side, it was your buy side that
Mhm.
made it, because the buyer that was purchasing this property was actually cross collateralizing properties to actually get the loan from his hard
Oh,
money
I remember
lender.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and because they were in two different counties, the properties they were using to use for collateral purposes. So we had to go to Wilson County as well as Comel County to get our title work done. Which, I mean, that's not a problem to do. It's just the hard money lender was requiring very specific things.
Right.
So it delayed it in the fact that he was using two different properties to
Mhm.
actually get that loan. But again, that's where it comes in that, the escrow officer being knowledgeable and what your lender is going to be looking for is helpful, because then you can try to get it done a little faster than just waiting for, I need this information. And then, oh, wait, I got it. Because I know on that particular transaction, I went to the lender and I was like, are you looking for a policy? Are you looking for this? What information are you needing? Very specifically, so we can get that quickly back to them.
Mhm.
And then, really some of the harder ones that you deal with, and I've had a couple that we've had to turn over to attorneys just because it was something we were not ever going to be able to solve on our own,
Mhm.
when we are dealing with the estates. And it seems like, especially here in San Antonio, whenever you're going over to the south side and east side of San Antonio, a
Mhm.
lot of the properties are old or older family owned properties. So
Right.
you're passing them down from, grandfather to, the kids and then to the grandkids. And there's no probates ever being done, or even affidavits of heirships done on the ones that have passed away. So I had one particular one where the gentleman, he was actually the stepson of the great grandfather, and it was a great great grandfather who actually owned the property.
Mm.
And as a stepson, he technically had no right to the property because
Right.
he's not a blood relative, but everybody was already deceased.
Mm.
So you have to go back and try to find all these heirs. And then when you realize they're deceased, then you're doing affidavit on them because they're deceased and get their heirs. And so, I mean, your heirships can get pretty lengthy,
Yeah.
but it's when you come into that problem of there's nobody alive anymore because, 3 generations have passed at that point.
Yeah. That's
That's
crazy.
when we have to turn to attorneys.
Mhm. So do you guys have like tools or anything you use? Like, how do you find those people?
We just start Googling. We
Yeah.
just use Google and do reverse lookups, and Our plants do have some capability to go try to find name searches and whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, we just have to become that little detective.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you guys have like access, like no special like tools or anything that like the public doesn't have, or you just have to really
I
understand
can't
things.
share that with you.
Yeah,
No, I
but
mean,
get
our,
your ways.
our
Yeah.
plant does have some
Hmm.
stuff that they can help us try to find people. But I mean, if we can, sometimes it gets interesting to try to find,
Yeah, I'm
you
sure.
know, where someone is or if they're still alive or, oh, going back to the lean thing real fast.
Hmm.
This popped in my head. I had a judgment come up, and it was a federal judgment for
Mm.
restitution, and it was because a person had robbed a bank.
Wow.
Google that. That's the fun part of Googling, to find out what happened there.
Yeah.
So that's just some of the stuff that we can come across.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah. I know like we use one we got approved for like IDI it's called, and you can like see like crazy stuff on people.
Hmm.
And it's yeah, it's like nuts. You see like their criminal records and all
Yeah,
kinds of stuff.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we have like federal lists that we have to OFAC and SDN
Hmm.
searches and terrorist lists, all this fun stuff that we have to look at.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. And when we're dealing with certain individuals, and it'll come across that we have to get very specific information. And if it is a person that comes on one of these lists, then we have to immediately turn that to our underwriters, and they have to move forward on that side. We have to,
Mm.
from a local, branch office, we have to pass that along to the big guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's
Hmm.
crazy though. That definitely sounds like it's a lot of work that goes into it.
Well,
So
fraud is something that you really have to be worried about. Because fraud is for wire frauds. Just, I mean,
mhm.
there's a lot of people out there that are trying to deed properties over that's not really theirs.
Really?
So we look at signature. Believe it or not, there's times where we have to actually pull a that we have found foul to compare a signature to make sure that they are similar. And if there's something that may be off on it, we have to start investigating it.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we want to
that's
make sure
crazy.
that it's right people.
That'd be rough for me because my signature looks different like every
I
time.
know.
But that's nuts.
Yeah.
So what's like the opposite then? So what's like a great one? Like get this, like, hey, I know this is gonna like what's like an easy like it's gonna be smooth sailing like deal that somebody brings you.
Oh man, that would be the person that is your seller. They're the owner of the house.
Mhm.
They don't have a mortgage on the house, and you have your cash buyer, and you can get, and it's not in a homeowners association.
Right.
Then you can get that closed in like 7 days.
Oh, okay. That makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, cash deals are awesome.
Hmm. Makes sense. That seems like it'd
Hmm.
be less
Hmm.
hoops. So they usually just it seems like they're just like a lot of cooks in the kitchen. You have to deal with like the hard money lenders, and you have to search for everything. That's like when it gets messy, isn't it? Just like a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
We consider ourselves like Switzerland. We're the
Hmm.
neutral party in the whole transaction, just getting everybody together to come to a fair closing.
Hmm.
So,
That makes sense.
mhm.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I actually use. And I talk to people too, and they're worried about like selling off market. And I'll say, hey, we work with a great title company, work with like Donnetta, and she can answer any questions. Yeah, she's a third party, she doesn't represent us. And I feel like that kind of puts people at ease too,
All right.
just knowing that you're not just
We're not
you're not
trying
just
to
setting a
favor.
contractor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't favor any party to the transaction. I mean, if
Mhm.
someone has a question, now, I mean, they have to be a party to the transaction for us to answer it. But if there's just a general question, I am happy all day long to try
Mhm.
to educate and help somebody get to a successful end.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Oh, perfect. Well, if anyone else has any final questions, drop them in the comments. I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping up here, but I think that was great. And I definitely appreciate you coming on. What's the best way for people to reach out to you or to work with you?
So my email address is droberts@fnfsatx.com. And our phone number, my cell number seems to be what I'm always next to, which is 210-722-2250. Our office is off of 1604, right at 281. However, I have been out in the Converse, the below shirts area forever. So I know a lot of the different places that, if we need to come close in different areas, we're happy to travel. Have notary stamp will travel. So that's always been my thing.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it always makes it super helpful. And then David said, put it in the comments. Yeah, I'll put her how to contact her in the comments too. Then just put all the info. And then
anybody can, if anybody wants to email me as well, I'll be happy to kind of give a little further explanation as to some of these different liens if they'd like.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, yeah, looks like, yeah, the other one was, can you go over which liens with the property and the owner name?
I can do that real quick.
Yeah, I think they'll put it in the comments with just your contact info of somebody else. I know we can't see who says what, but they're two different people.
Okay.
But, awesome. So, Barry, did you want to go over the which liens go with the property?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. So your mortgage company liens, like your mortgages for just straight up lending that are held by a deed of trust, and that's going to be a real estate, and that's going to go with the property. Your IRS liens go with your property, and your property taxes stay with the property. The ones that are against your name are like your credit card at what they're called abstracted judgments. So that's a credit card, your car that didn't get paid or repossessed. Student loans go against the name itself because there's not a property that's a collateral on that. That's the biggest way to think about it, is what is going to be my collateral versus what does not have a collateral to it.
That makes a lot of sense. So, awesome. Well, yeah, I think you guys had some great questions. I appreciate everyone hopping on. And yeah, I'll make sure I'll put all of Donnetta's contact info in the comments so you guys can work with her. We've done a good amount of deals together, and it's been great every time. So yeah, I highly recommend reaching out to her, and she's super knowledgeable. So yeah, thank you so much again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.